तो नमस्कार मित्रों, यहाँ पर मैंने एक एडिटोरियल पन्ना लिया हुआ है फ्रॉम द इंडियन एक्सप्रेस न्यूज़पेपर और आज है 1 जनवरी, दैट इज़ द वेरी फर्स्ट डे ऑफ द ईयर 2024। तो यहाँ पर ये जो आर्टिकल है इसमें लिखा हुआ है द फेटफुल ईयर, होपफुली डेमोक्रेसीज कैन इंगेज इन एन एक्ट ऑफ रिट्रीवल, रिडीम द फ्यूचर इंस्टेड ऑफ बीइंग स्टक इन द पास्ट। तो हम अतीत में फंसे होने के बजाय सारे के सारे जितने डेमोक्रेसीज है उन्हें बाहर निकालें उनके उलझनों से। तो उसमें देखते हैं राइटर ने क्या लिखा है इसमें। 2024 may be politically one of the most fateful years of the planet in recent memory. Elections will be held in most of the world's major democracies: India, United States, Indonesia, South Africa, Bangladesh, Taiwan and Britain, to name a few. तो ये सारे देश जिनके भी नाम लिए अभी यहाँ पर इलेक्शंस होने वाले हैं नेक्स्ट ईयर। एट वन लेवल दिस इज़ जस्ट अ कोइंसिडेंटल अलाइनमेंट ऑफ द इलेक्टोरल साइकिल्स। तो ये कोइंसिडेंट तरीके से अलाइन हो गए सारे के सारे इलेक्शंस। बट द आइडिया ऑफ क्लोज टू 2 billion वोटर्स कॉन्शियसली शेपिंग देयर फ्यूचर इज़ एन exhilarating one. There is also a bit of the foreboding about whether this marvelous act of political agency will measure up to the problems that confront the world. तो यहाँ पर बोला जा रहा है कि इस तरीके से पॉलिटिकल एजेंसीज है वो पूरे वर्ल्ड के प्रॉब्लम्स को कन्फ्रंट करेंगे। द केस फॉर foreboding about these elections is strong. None of them is going to be an ordinary exercise in casting the vote. None of the predicted outcomes looks rosy. Democracy in US is extremely polarized. सो यूएस की बात कर रहा है जहाँ पर कि डेमोक्रेसी काफ़ी ज़्यादा पोलराइज्ड है, मतलब डिवाइडेड है। द रेंज ऑफ द पॉसिबल ट्रैजेक्टरीज फॉर द अमेरिकन डेमोक्रेसी इज़ वाइड, मोस्ट ऑफ देम नॉट palpable. Donald Trump's candidacy could induce a constitutional crisis even before the election. A close and highly polarized election could make it difficult for America to take the critical decision necessary for its own domestic stability and for the global order. The election results may not be accepted as legitimate. The choices on offer are generating less enthusiasm. Joe Biden is running on a nominal strong economy, a renewed emphasis on industrial policy, and a green transition, and yet this record is not strong enough to convince voters that Bidenomics has cracked the long-term cost of living problem in housing, healthcare, elitism, and inequality. Support for the war in Ukraine is eroding, and the war in the Gaza has damaged Biden's credibility both domestically and abroad. Whether a second Trump presidency can actually address the economic resentments that are fueling his rise to power is an open question. It is more like to erode what remains of institutional quality in the US. It will also use the culture wars to deepen an authoritarian turn and consolidate xenophobic nationalism. तो यहाँ पर बात कर रहा है कि किस तरीके से अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट जो बाइडेन ने जो भी एक्ट किया है इन द इसराइल पैलेस्टीन इशू को लेकर के, जो भी वो इसराइल को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं कंप्लीट तरीके से, ठीक है, तो उसकी वजह से उनकी इमेज थोड़ी डैमेज हुई है इंटरनली, दैट इज़ डोमेस्टिकली एज वेल एज अब्रॉड। और यूक्रेन के टाइम पर भी वहाँ पर भी वो स्टेबिलिटी नहीं लेके आ पाए, तो वहाँ से उनकी इमेज एक तरीके से डैमेज हुई है। In India, the outcome looks more certain. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is at the moment most likely to return to office, giving India the advantages of stability and continuity. तो इंडिया में तो काफ़ी तरीके से तय है कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी वापस आने वाले हैं इलेक्शन के बाद, तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्टेबिलिटी अपने कंट्री में रहने वाली है। सम ऑफ द डीप स्ट्रक्चरल प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ द इकोनॉमी, particularly the transition to high quality, high productivity jobs will remain, but there is arguably enough momentum to sustain 6% growth on the lower bound for a while. This could give India leverage in the global order and state capacity will continue to expand. तो इंडिया की जो ग्रोथ है वो 6% तक रहने वाली है नेक्स्ट ईयर भी। इस बार तो 7.5 समथिंग पहुंची है। द opposition is still not able to project itself as governing coalition or tap into the aspirational space Modi is occupying. But we should not be under any illusion that the return of the BJP will be deeper and more irrevocable consolidation of both communalism and authoritarianism. This is not in the future, it is the word on which the BJP is running. You just have to look at the erosion of checks and balances, the new spirit of the legislation that empower the government over citizens to an unprecedented degree, the institutionalization of disclosure of violence, and the assertion of the majoritarianism with impunity. Yes, this is not all there is to the BJP, as supporters would argue, but it is too monumental a consequence of its possible victory to brush aside as one of those small imperfections we can live with. So we may end up in a paradox. It could both be true that India's power grows even as it slides into authoritarianism. The stability of the electoral outcomes will discuss a deeper constitutional change. Although Joko Widodo is still a powerful political force in Indonesia, the country will be facing its first post-Joko election. South Africa is also looking at a critical election, a country that is looking at a severe economic and governance crisis, maybe edging towards an era that finally signals the end of the overwhelming dominance of the African National Congress. The outcome of the elections in the Taiwan could potentially be a factor in how the Chinese define their relationship to Taiwan and redefine geopolitics. तो अभी अपना यहाँ पर साउथ अफ्रीका में इलेक्शन होने वाला है, और ताइवान काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, बिकॉज चाइना क्लेम करता है कि ताइवान उसका खुद का टेरिटरी है और उसके ऊपर कब्जा करने की कोशिश करता है, जिसको कि ताइवान डिफेंड करता है और यूएस भी डिफेंड करता है, और इंडिया खुद नहीं मानता वन चाइना पॉलिसी को. These elections will result in significant changes one way or the other. In some cases, democracy itself might hang in the balance, but the deeper worry about this year is the deep mismatch between the demands of the domestic legitimation and what the planet requires for its future. For thing, nationalism is going to be a major preoccupation in these elections. It is a measure of a loss of progressive possibilities that so much of politics globally is now dominated by the arguments over the membership, historical memory, restoration of the past, and searching for the ethnic enemies. Recent history has given the lie to any claim that politics is not ideological, but it is an ideology that operates in a psychological register. Citizens need to feel good about their societies and need to be made part of a larger cause. A combination of instant pride and fear are irresistible emotions in politics. Even questions of the material conditions of existence can be framed enough through identity, history, and memory. Nationalism is the theodicy of the moment. Lack of the nationalism provides an explanation for so many things: deindustrialization, to lack of civic amenities, to anxieties over culture. Modern democracies rely on the nation state form, in which questions of a membership, identity, and collective pride become inescapable. But so many of the world's pressing problems cannot be solved by a return to the collective narcissism of nationalism. Uh, we may not get World War III, but the prospect of the far reaching wars has increased to an unprecedented degree. Russia upended the global order with its claim on Ukraine. Ethnic cleansing seems to be again acceptable. From Nagorno-Karabakh to Gaza, Sino-US tensions are still not in a zone where we can complacent about how they could disrupt the surface calm in world politics. The profound changes in technology and reorientation of economic model across the world requires new global coordination. The world did quite poorly during the last pandemic on global cooperation, and in 2023, it did briefly cross the 2-degree centigrade mark for the global warming. It is the first time that shipping has been disrupted in the Panama Canal due to the drought and the Suez Canal due to the war. The choices voters will face are not easy. None of them are showing a clear pathway of how we prevent ourselves from sleepwalking through multiple crises. We hope that democracies can once again engage in a monumental act of retrieval, redeem the future instead of being stuck in the past. Happy New Year. सो यहाँ पर मेन बात ये करी गई कि भाई डेमोक्रेसी आनी चाहिए हर एक कंट्री में वापस से, नेशनलिज्म की फीलिंग और वो डेमोक्रेसी टाइप सारी चीज़ें आनी चाहिए, लेकिन साथ ही में हमें ग्लोबली जो हम प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं उनके सॉल्यूशंस के ऊपर सारे कंट्रीज़ को मिल करके काम करना चाहिए, बिकॉज एट द एंड इट इज़ अस हु आर गोइंग टू बी लिविंग इन दिस वर्ल्ड. सो क्रोनी कैपिटलिज्म इट शुड बी अवॉइडेड, कि कुछ अमीर लोगों को फ़ायदा दिया जा रहा है पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज़ के द्वारा इलेक्ट होने के बाद एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ द क्लाइमेट चेंज. सो दैट शुडंट बी डन.